Welcome to the Learning Circle. My name is Emily and I'm a parent navigator from EMBARC. I will lead our group today through this video, and the parent navigator with you can help discuss and answer questions you may have. They are not an expert in everything, so they may not know all of the answers to your questions, but they will share with you what they know. If you ask a question and they do not know the answer, they will find out for you. We are here to learn together and learn from one another. We want the Learning Circle to feel like a family of support for you. Please pause this video and go around the room and introduce yourselves. Before we get started, let's remember our group rules so we can learn and enjoy our time together. Raise one hand to speak and wait for the parent navigator to call on you. It is good to ask questions when we do not understand something. We will keep confidentiality. If someone tells us something personal and private, we will not tell others who are not in our learning circle. Today we will learn about challenging behavior and what natural consequences are versus logical consequences. Please take a few minutes to think about and discuss the following questions before we begin. Do you know what challenging behavior means? Does anyone know what natural consequences are? How do they compare to logical consequences? Positive guidance helps us to deal with challenging behavior in a positive way rather than a negative way. We want to encourage positive behavior. Even when our children do things we do not want them to do, we can tell them what we do want them to do, rather than focusing on what we don't want them to do. For example, in these pictures, we don't want to tell the child, don't jump on the chair, or don't stand on furniture. Rather, we can say, chairs are for sitting. Sit in the chair, please. You can jump on the floor. Or, let's dance on the floor. This positive attitude helps build a foundation of a good relationship for when life gets harder as children get older. Much like the ways we talked about using encouragement as a way to teach children how to behave, telling children what to do requires the same caring words and actions. Focus on praising a child's good behavior and encouraging the child, rather than punishing them for bad behavior. Direction should be short and clear. Young children cannot remember a list of 5 directions, but 2 to 3 are reasonable for children under 6 years of age. Expect children to do what they are physically and emotionally able to do. A child who is tired is not able to behave as well as a child who is not tired. If a child is young, they may not be able to sit quietly for more than a few minutes. Telling a child what to do requires that a parent knows what they want a child to do. This is very challenging for many people. It may take many weeks or months to change thinking from what I don't want my child to do to what I do want my child to do. It is also challenging to make sure that what we want a child to do is realistic for their age and mood. Please take a minute to pause and discuss. What are some challenging behaviors that you would like to see your child do less? What are some positive behaviors that you would like to see your child do more? Some examples of behavior you might want to see less of are ignoring, hitting, or screaming. Some behaviors that you might want to see more of include listening, using words, and using an inside voice. Parents can also use photos or pictures to teach rules. You can use your cell phone camera to take pictures that explain a chore. For instance, you might use a picture of changing into pajamas, then brushing your teeth, then reading a bedtime story, then going to bed to demonstrate the rules around going to bed. You can also use a timer to do a countdown, as this picture shows. So you might say, 3 minutes to put your toys away, and show a picture of the toy box cleaned up and organized, if you want to encourage your child to clean up quickly. First-then statements tell a child what to do first in order to be able to do or get what they want. You can also teach children about the rewards for their good behavior by saying first-then statements. This teaches children the order in which to do things. So you might say, first you put your backpack away, then you can play outside. Another example is, you can say, first you pick up toys, then you can watch a TV show. Most children are not born with a built-in ability to make decisions and then to accept the consequences. Learning to take responsibility for actions requires a lot of support and practice. A good way to help your child develop these skills is to offer limited, reasonable choices throughout the day. You might offer a child to have an apple or applesauce as a snack. Others offer specific choices that are both valid choices. You do not want to offer a choice like clean up or you will get beaten, because no one would reasonably choose to get beaten. Keep practicing offering reasonable, limited choices. Take a few minutes and reflect on these questions and determine which offer limited and reasonable choices. Is what do you want to wear today a specific and limited choice? Does offering a choice between two shirts help make the choices more limited? What about the third question? Is it reasonable to ask a child if they would like to get spanked? An important part of your role as a parent is staying calm even when your child is misbehaving. When a child's behavior is challenging, you can either respond to it or ignore it. If reaction is necessary, remember that reacting in small ways is usually best. If a child spills a drink, is it more appropriate to react by yelling or calmly cleaning up the mess and explaining to the child to be more careful? Before we move on to our next section, I will review what we have learned so far in our 3 positive solutions lessons. So far, we have learned about building caring, trusting, lifelong relationships. We have also talked about encouraging and how we should teach, not punishment. We have also talked about playing and being playful, and we have talked about understanding why a child's behavior may be challenging. We have also talked about telling a child specifically what to do by giving directions and offering specific choices. We have also talked about modeling good behavior and considering our own childhood and how that influences our parenting. Now we will talk more about why a child's behavior may be challenging and natural versus logical consequences. As this picture shows, the behavior that we see from children is only a small amount of what a child is feeling. Underneath the behavior we see is the feelings of hurt, fear, or frustration that they are unable to express. Children have 3 basic needs: to be loved and cared for, to belong and contribute, and to learn new things and to learn from their mistakes. Challenging behaviors arise when these 3 basic needs are not met, or when a child struggles with hurt, fear, or frustration trying to meet these needs. Please watch this video and pay attention to the child's behavior and what the child is feeling that they cannot express. Which character understands the child better in the video? The father or the mother? Please take a few minutes and reflect on the following questions about the video with your learning circle. What sort of behaviors do you think Trixie had that were challenging for her dad? Why did those behaviors happen? What did Dad do that kept Trixie safe and cared for? How could he have made it worse? Note that Dad did not yell, yank, or hit. He stayed relatively calm and went back to reassure Trixie. This is a great story which shows how children's behaviors are their way of expressing feelings and needs. It shows how sometimes children don't have the words to express their feelings, and sometimes they may not even understand themselves. For instance, when they are tired or hungry. One way to help children express their emotions is by helping children find words for their emotions. You can do this by talking about your feelings and their feelings together. You can teach them new emotion words such as frustrated, confused, anxious, and more. You can also talk together about how characters in a book, video, or on TV may feel. You can also accept and support your child's expression of feelings using books or art activities to talk about emotions. Helping children find words for their emotions has a lot of benefits. Children who can understand and express their feelings can tolerate frustration better. They also get into fewer fights and engage in less destructive behavior. They are also healthier, less lonely, less impulsive, more focused, and have greater academic achievement. Remember to be a detective when trying to understand your child's feelings. Try to figure out the meaning of your child's behavior. Ask yourself, what is your child trying to tell you? Natural consequences for children are the results of their behavior that happen naturally and happen regardless of if an adult is involved. The consequences happen because of nature, society, or another person directly involved in the issue. Some examples include if a child refuses to put toys away and a toy gets lost or stepped on and broken. Or if a child pulls off their shoes and socks in the car, they will have cold feet. Another example is if a child is mean to other children and then the other children refuse to play together. Or if a teenager refuses to turn off bedroom lights and stays up too late and then is tired the next day. Natural consequences can be hard to teach children because they take time for children to learn. For us as grown-ups, we know what will happen, but our children will likely have to learn the hard way. But there are also benefits to natural consequences. When a child learns natural consequences, it can help preserve the parent-child relationship from a reoccurring battle because the parent does not have to teach the consequence. The parent and child can also process and problem solve to prevent future problems. And the child still learns that action have consequences. It may not be easy for the parent to let children learn on their own, and it does take time for the child to learn themselves, so the parent must be patient. A logical consequence is different than a natural consequence. A logical consequence happens when a parent or other supervisor provides a response to behavior. A logical consequence may have to be used to prevent a child from harming themselves or another person or thing. For instance, if a child throws a block at their sister, the parent will take away the block. Or if a brother and sister are fighting, the parent will send them away to play in separate rooms. Or if a child refuses to eat dinner, you can have the consequence of not giving the child dessert. Now that we have given these examples of logical consequences, take a minute to come up with a logical consequence for each bad behavior. What would you do if a child keeps dumping water out of the bathtub? What would you do if a child leaves their toys out on the floor? What would a logical consequence be if a child paints on the table and floor with finger paints? Logical consequences can be hard to use. For one, the adult's focus must stay on teaching rather than punishing. As an adult, you cannot act in anger by punishing, but need to remember to act in a way that teaches the child correct behavior. Second, it is hard because the adult must think quickly, again with the focus on teaching the child to keep their self, others, and things safe. Third, adults must be prepared to remain calm and follow through in spite of potentially unhappy, mad, and frustrated child. Finally, logical consequences require consistency and have the greatest likelihood of success if issued consistently. There are also lots of benefits to logical consequences. First, you can prevent costly consequences such as harm to self, others, or things. Second, you can continue to preserve relationships when consequences are issued with care and the belief that the child can learn to do better. Finally, it helps a child to learn some universal expectations through varied experiences. To finish up, the best way to manage children's challenging behavior is to help them be successful and to teach them what to do. You can show and tell them by helping them learn words to express emotions, controlling your own anger and disappointment, and demonstrating problem solving to your children. You can practice natural consequences by letting children learn the consequences of their actions, or you can practice logical consequences by developing consequences that make sense to address children's challenging behavior. And finally, you can encourage children by recognizing their emotions, needs, and behaviors and responding to them. Do you have questions? Remember, if you do not know the answer to a question, you can write it down and tell the group member you will find the answer and tell them. I am so happy you came to the group today. Remember, you are always welcome to come, even if you miss one learning circle. Your parent navigator can give you more information about your next learning circle. You can always bring your children and invite your friends to come with you.